Hi there, and welcome to the Grief and Rebirth podcast. I'm your host, author and trauma survivor Irene Weinberg, here to encourage you wherever you are in your healing journey. In each episode, I chat with incredible grief and trauma specialists, healers, mediums, and celebs, as well as remarkable people who have inspiring healing stories to share. If you're looking for a podcast that's both uplifting and inspiring, you've found it. Let us help you find your joy in life. Hi, everyone. I hope this finds each of you so very well. I'm speaking to you from my studio in West Orange, New Jersey, and I am absolutely delighted to have this opportunity to interview Sheela. And Sheela, give me your last name.
Jaganathan.
Well said. Who will be speaking to us from Munich, Germany, right?
Yes,
Munich.
I'm living here right now. Yes.
Right. Sheela was born and raised in Malaysia, which is a multicultural nation with people of various religious beliefs and lifestyles. She was a litigation lawyer and a recruiting specialist there before she relocated to Germany. And over the years, she has also had the opportunity to live in Shanghai and in Singapore, where she trained to become a regression therapist and a life coach. Sheela, who speaks English, Tamil, Mandarin, Malay, and German, is a past life, current life regression therapist, a life coach, and an author who is certified in hypnotherapy, past life regression therapy, spiritual regression therapy, and brain-based coaching. Her focus on guiding clients from all walks of life towards inner clarity and into their soul knowing is beautifully expressed through Sheela's remarkable book titled Hello Me, Self-Empowerment and Healing Through Past Life Regression Therapy. And she is also a contributor to the book titled Gathering at the Doorway, an anthology of signs, visits, and messages from the afterlife, which was curated by author Camille Dan, who I've had the true pleasure of interviewing on Grief and Rebirth podcast. I'm looking forward to talking with Sheela about her out-of-body experience, the fascinating way she came to write her book, Hello Me, how regression therapy integrates the lessons learned from the past into the client's current life, what is soul knowing, and more for what is surely going to be a fascinating and very enlightening interview. So hi, Sheela, a warm heartfelt welcome to Grief and Rebirth podcast.
Thank you, Irene. I am so honored to be here.
Thank you. I'm thrilled to have you here. I think it's wonderful what you're doing and how many people you've been helping. Just marvelous. So let's have people get to know you sort of from the beginning. I know that you had an out-of-body experience that changed your view of the afterlife, including falling into a gigantic golden sphere, pain-free. You want to tell us a little bit about that?
This happened while I was living in Germany in 2005. We were in the midst of moving house, and it was springtime. And out of all the strenuous activities that we were up to, I guess it kind of triggered something in me. And one night I found myself just waking up suddenly and feeling completely paralyzed, top to bottom. And I couldn't call out to my husband because my voice was blocked. The only thing I could do physically was still see a little bit through my half-open eyes. And I saw that it was about 4 something in the morning. What I noticed the most was the pain. It was excruciating. I felt like I was on fire. Every pore felt like it was being burned. So while I was in this state, I was kind of grateful I could still think. And the one thing that I thought about was really about my daughter, who was lying between me and my husband at that point in time, because we only had one bed that we hadn't packed up. And I was worried about her. I was concerned what would happen to her if I were to die, because that was how it felt like, that I was being burned to death.
Wow.
At one point, just intuitively or automatically, I remembered a prayer from the Tibetan Book of Living or Dying. And there is a practice in there called the Tonglen practice that you can generate compassion even at the last moment in life. And this is what I thought about towards the end. I was thinking that I was going to die anyway, so I might as well bring everybody's pain and take it with me. And the moment I thought of doing that, I felt myself going through a portal and falling out onto the other side and into a space that was gigantic, holographic, golden, and felt absolutely like home. And I remember that I was docking into a specific space within this sphere. And I also realized that everything around me was just so peaceful and calm and bright and just nice. It's really difficult to find a word to describe everything, but I just felt like I came home and there was no pain. I couldn't sense time anymore. I couldn't tell how big the sphere was because it looked big and cozy at the same time. And I was really enjoying myself. In fact, to me, it felt like I was lying on a hammock, enjoying the breeze and having a nice drink in my hand. That's how it felt like to me. Absolutely.
Especially because
relaxing.
you were out of your body and you were not having any pain, right? And you had left
Yes.
the body that was filled with pain.
Yes. And then I don't know how long it lasted. I heard this booming voice, and you have had that experience. It's like something that you hear within you, but you also kind of feel like everybody in the whole world heard it. And the voice said two things. What is she doing here? It's not her time yet. And in that moment, it really became comical and serious at the same time. It was comical because I was trying to find a place to hide from the voice, but how can you hide?
You can't.
When you are in the light. At the same time, I felt like I might have done something wrong, right? Because the voice sounded very firm, concerned, but also kind of curious. How come something didn't go to plan? And the next thing I know, it's like somebody turned me around and just kicked me back through the portal that I came through. And I landed into my body. So my awareness was now full on. I could feel my body, but the pain was reduced. And by this time, it was about 6-something in the morning. So 2 hours had passed. But that time that I spent in that sphere was like 2 seconds.
It felt like 2 seconds.
Yeah, it felt like 2 seconds. Or actually, it's very hard to measure time in them. So so when I came to, I got up in the morning and I went to see a doctor, and then he checked me. When he saw me, he was already horrified because I was not able to walk properly. I was shuffling. So he ran some blood tests. He checked me. Physically, I was okay. The blood test did not reveal anything. So he just noted it down as a mysterious infection. And I was given painkillers to deal with it. But for me, it was an impressionable moment.
Of course.
Because I knew that I gave up my body. I went across a barrier and I was in a different space that I could still process with my awareness. And yet, this place was difficult to describe, because there was nothing earthly on it, but it contained all the information that one needed. And the other point was Earth, you have day and night, but in this place, there was no day and night. There was just a sense of being. You are just there. You are part of everything. And I felt that. I felt my own importance in that space because I had my own place in that web.
In that space. Had you believed in that before?
No.
So
no,
like me, you got a big surprise, a big wake-up call, right?
Yes.
And now you also have this incredible story about your daughter at age 4, who remembered that she had fallen out of you before she was conceived. And this is an incredible story. So would you like to share that with us?
Yes. Yes. So in order to understand what happened with my second daughter, you need to know that in 2001, I experienced a miscarriage with twins. And this was very tough on me. This was the first time I was experiencing grief to the deepest level. I have lost one of my grandparents before, but grief is different when you don't have a body to touch and mourn over.
How long had you been pregnant when you had the miscarriage?
3 months. 3 months. I was advised to go for DNC to clear out the remains. I know for some people, they might say this is just blood and cells, but for first time mom, I just couldn't even process that episode, that event. So that triggered me to think about what is life or death about. You know, when somebody dies inside of you, so I felt like the biggest villain on earth. It's like, what didn't I do right? Didn't I eat enough? Didn't I breathe right? And all this will become important because in 2012, when my second daughter was 4 years old, I was putting her to bed. Out of the blue, she just goes, "Mama, do you know I fell out of your tummy?" Right? Because she doesn't know anything about the miscarriage. So I'm surprised. And then she goes on to describe why she fell out. And she goes, "Oh, it's because the muscles were small, because Mama didn't eat." And that was all true, because in the first pregnancy, I was suffering from the worst kind of morning sickness where I couldn't eat or drink. If I took a drop of water, I would throw that one out. If I took anything to eat, it will all come out. So it was the worst form. I should have been hospitalized, but I didn't know about it. So I just kept going. And how would this child know about that?
But, you know, the blessing in that also was that you could stop blaming yourself in a way, because here she came back to you.
So this was the ultimate question for me then, because there I am, having gone through that pregnancy, losing both kids, feeling really bad, feeling angry, feeling guilty, and feeling sadness, extreme sadness. And then here is your 4-year-old, 11 years later, saying, "Hey, I've been inside your body and I fell out. And this is what you did or didn't do. But here I am standing
here I am."
So
have you ever heard anything about what happened to her? Was it her sister or her brother?
So I believe both of them came back. I have 2 children. So one was born in 2002. The second one was born in 2008.
How amazing.
But their personalities are on both ends of any spectrum. But what I wanted to say is this. I had been a lawyer. So you know how lawyers, they have, all kinds of laws that they follow, especially Evidence Act, right? If something doesn't qualify as an evidence, then the story doesn't exist. And here I am listening to my daughter telling me about something that had happened to me that she would have no idea about. And she was talking about something, about a truth that I could not possibly deny, because I was the only person who can corroborate what she was saying. And what she was saying was a simple truth.
Amazing. So now, after the birth of your younger daughter, you sought out, because you had chronic medical issues. You still had a lot of chronic medical issues, right?
Yes.
So you sought out, but you wanted to say something else?
Yes. I wanted to say that after the miscarriage, I went on to have a healthy child. But I did a lot of work for that. I changed my diet. I worked out. So mentally and physically, I was taking care of myself. I was doing positive affirmations. I got the baby. And then I started to fall ill 3 years after. I started having migraines. I had tinnitus. And eventually I was diagnosed with fibromyalgia.
Well, you were young. And you were so young.
I was in my mid-30s.
I mean, it's so young to have all that happen to you.
Exactly. But here's the thing. All the 3 different doctors that I went to prescribed the same medication, antidepressants, because they said, here you go, medication, you can take it, not the whole dosage, but half the dosage, and it will take care of the symptoms. nobody wanted to find out the cause of it, right? And what happened was I refused because I realized this. Even though I took care of myself physically and mentally, I failed to take care of myself emotionally and spiritually after the miscarriage.
Right.
And because I did not take care of myself emotionally and spiritually, it was showing up.
Which is what happens. It becomes disease because it gets stuck in your body.
Mm. And this is what led me to alternative therapy. This is what led me to Reiki, took me to Jin Shin Jutsu. It's the Japanese kind of
I've interviewed someone who does that, yes.
Yeah, it helped me so much that I couldn't believe it. Like, how is that working? And then I tested out hypnotherapy, self-hypnosis. And that helped me to have clearer mind because I used it against insomnia. When my second daughter was about a year old, I accidentally broke her toe by shutting it between two car doors. I was carrying her out of the car and I just shut it. It was a van door, the one that slides across.
Right.
And it got caught. And that sent me into a spiral of depression. And to deal with that situation, I used self-hypnosis. And the long-term effect was this. Even though I didn't believe in hypnotherapy, I tried it out, but only by listening to a CD. And what it did for me was it made me sleep. And when you sleep enough, you have better clarity of mind the following day.
Sure.
That was the long-term effect. So that helped me. And then I became curious, how does self-hypnosis work? Because the other part of me is always like trying to figure out how does this world work? And that took me to doing a hypnotherapy course. And in the process of wanting to get the certificate, you have to apply the technique on 5 people and produce the case studies. And this is what I did. And I got the certificate. And that was enough for me, right? Because it proved a point.
But this is so amazing to me too, Sheela, because here you were a lawyer.
Yes.
It's sort of like in my story. You really didn't believe in any of this. And meanwhile, you're being led to a sole purpose.
By the nose.
Right. The same thing happened to me. Right.
So during the hypnotherapy course, I had actually slipped into a past life while doing one of the training exercise. And that gave me a shock, right? I was like, how is that possible? How is past life possible? All I wanted to do is find techniques to relax myself through hypnosis. And then the situation with my second daughter happened. So after I had finished hypnotherapy, I had this moment with my second daughter. And because of her, I continued with doing a course in regression therapy offered by the same academy. And what happened was the 5 people that I worked on to get the certificate for hypnotherapy, they went and told other people about me, right? Because it had helped them. Right. So soon I had people dropping in saying, okay, can you do that on me? So I continued working on people. And that's how Kalina came into the picture, because she was the very first person who I used hypnotherapy on. Kalina is the one who I feature in my book.
Yes. Oh, I know. And her story is absolutely amazing. I mean, it's amazing. Before we go into the story of Kalina, because now you're a past life, current life regression therapist and a life coach, could you just explain to people how regression therapy goes beyond just viewing your past lives to transforming challenging moments and integrating the lessons learned from the past into the person's current life? So it happened for you, found out about your past life.
Exactly.
So you're saying when people find out about their past lives, it could be things that have carried over from past lives into the current life. So when you find that out, you can heal that.
Yes. So I'll use myself as the example, because this is what convinced me in the end, right? When I started off doing the hypnotherapy with Kalina, we started exploring her past life too, because I was learning the techniques of regression therapy and I was applying it. And she had done maybe about a dozen sessions with me. And I, like a lawyer, I compiled all the notes. And one day after she was done with her stuff, she looked at it and she goes, Sheela, why don't you take all the notes and just turn it into a book? And it was kind of a joke. We were, she was joking with me because she was seeing that the pile of notes were going higher and higher.
Yeah.
So at first, I just poo-pooed it. And then she mentioned it a couple of times. And one day I took a serious look at my notes. I just thought to myself, what would happen if I just wrote a book out of it? I mean, it's a possibility. And in that moment, I was so nauseous. I felt so sick. And I just doubled over. I had a physical reaction.
Wow.
Yeah. And I've been looking at those notes for many weeks and months. But the thought of turning it into a book, because a book would mean you are revealing it to the whole world, that thought made me nauseous and absolutely sick.
So to get up in a court of law and represent someone in your first part of your life you were comfortable with, but to bring out someone's past life and help a person to heal that you were not comfortable with.
Yes. So that was the first reaction. And the second reaction was the thought, what if they come after me again? What if somebody knocks on the door and pulls me out and locks me up? This was the thought. And here I am living
from, right? Where did that come from? Which we know where. We're going to tell everyone.
Exactly. And I'm standing in my living room in our own house in Singapore, and I'm having this thought. And Singapore is one of the safest places to live. So where did those thoughts come from? So when it kept happening, I asked a fellow regression therapist to help me find the answer. And the answer took me to Spain around about 13th century, towards end of 13th century.
So she put you under. So she did a past life regression on you.
On me, because it's so much easier to have a therapist do it on you, because then they can follow the story, keep notes, and ask the right questions. If I do it on myself, it's possible, but I can promise you within 10 minutes, I'll be laughing away.
Right.
Yeah, because my conscious mind will be struggling with the subconscious thoughts. Long story short, I was a janitor, kind of like a cleaner in a church, and I would go around just picking up pieces of paper that they were producing in the church during that time period.
Were you male or female?
I was a male. I was a Christian, and I was one of the service staff in the church. But I was very curious about all these people with long hair and swords that were coming through the city, on horses, and also Jews, because I could tell how they kept themselves. All this information I'd find out afterwards. At first, she just asked me about the story, collected the information, and I'm telling her all this. And what happened was I would go out at night. I would sneak out at night and go to like little bazaars, Kneipe. What is that word? They are like pubs, or not really pubs, like gathering places where you would drink something, eat something. And I'll try to make friends with these foreigners and try to figure out how they viewed their world, what they practice, what is their thinking about God.
You had a curious mind.
Yes. But I was in
you were in a time that they did not appreciate that.
No. And I would take all the little bits of paper that I found in the church, and I would draw stuff because I didn't know how to write. I would just draw things. And I kept all these pieces of paper under it was like a bed made out of wine and then stuffed with hay. And I would just keep it hidden there. Long story short, one of my supervisors, somebody ratted out on me. And I was hauled up before the authorities or the seniors, superiors, and they asked me, what are you doing, sneaking out at night, meeting up with all these foreigners, what are you doing? So I tried to explain, but they kept dismissing me. And eventually I was taken to a public court, and to set an example to the other Christians, I was sentenced to be hanged and then decapitated.
Oh my God.
So I went through the whole
curious, just for being curious.
Yes.
You were hanged and decapitated.
Yes. And even as I was trying to explain what I was doing, I was laughed at and ridiculed. So The story ends with my death in a horrible way. And that was the fear that was stopping me from even considering to write this book. And what we did is we revisited the story, and I was given the option to bring it to a kind of ending that was best for me.
So
best for my soul.
What kind of ending did you find that was best for your soul?
Okay, so I didn't change the story at all. I didn't want to change anything about me being curious. I didn't want to take away my need or my desire to get to know other people, the foreigners
It was
especially.
a beautiful thing that you wanted to do.
Yes. So what I opted for was that to attach back my head back on my body, because that would make me feel whole. And the funny thing is, as the therapist encouraged me to do that, I had to pick up my head, literally in that scene. I had to pick it up.
Yeah.
Right. I imagine it, right? And I put it back. And the few seconds later, I heard like a click inside my ear. And the effect of it was, few weeks later, I started writing out the outline for the book.
So it took away that trauma. It actually healed you from that trauma.
Yes, it took away the fear, because rationally, logically, I shouldn't have any fear, right? In the present moment, I shouldn't, but I did, because I was carrying it from 500-600 years ago, right?
And the amazing thing is, it really, and someone would say I can't believe that, but in the meantime, it healed you, and it healed your block.
It healed me. And the proof of healing is that I managed to write and self-publish the book, because the whole stretch, as I continued writing, I could feel my guides coming in, the guides that I met in that session for me. They were there behind me. There were nights where I would be writing it and wondering the next day, how in the world did I have enough energy to do this book? And in the beginning, Irene, the book sounded like a kind of a report.
Well, that because was the lawyer in you.
Exactly. And then halfway through, I said, no, I cannot present it in this way, because that is not the real me. And the moment I asked for help, it became softer. Yes, the most important is that it flowed in a logical way for the readers to understand what was happening. But more important was that it was written with the right kind of energy.
And I can tell you that it's a fascinating book, everyone. I really recommend that you get Sheela's book. And again, it's Hello Me, Self-Empowerment and Healing Through Past Life Regression Therapy. And she's got this incredible story that you would want to read about healing from past lives, not just her own. But so start to tell us about Kalina. What brought her to you? And there were 2 past lives that came out that were amazing. One, she was a man named Oro from West Africa, and another, she was a woman named Anna in Bavaria. And tell us about that. And I know the Anna from Bavaria story was a turning point in her healing journey. So do you want to share that? The stories are wonderful, just incredible. So go ahead. And how old was Kalina when she came to you?
She was same age as me. She would be, 33, 34, thereabouts. Yeah.
And, so having a musician, and what made her so open-minded to come to see you? She was your first test case, I think.
So I know her through my husband's friend. So she was the wife of my husband's friend, and I was living in Singapore, and then they moved to Singapore from Germany. And because we knew each other from before, we became close.
And she felt safe with you.
Yes, she did. She was having stress, and she had tried many other methods to resolve it. I guess somehow it's timing, right? When soul friends cross path, then it's a special moment. You know it, you feel it. And I think maybe we had an agreement with one another. You never know. Maybe she came at the time just to give me enough of a nudge to help me believe in all this.
It was part of the story and part of your awakenings. Tell us about Kalina. And I especially want to hear about, she was having issues with her son, Paul, right?
Yes.
Who became very bossy when his father went out of town. So let's talk about how she learned about Paul's odd behavior, and then about her story about Anna, Bavaria, that was the turning point in her healing journey.
So she had 3 kids and living in a foreign country, taking care of kids who are becoming teenagers. That's tough for anybody. So she wanted to find ways to figure out a way to not just help herself, but also her family. Yeah, the whole family in the end. 3 boys, and then she's the only female, right? It's not easy. She had tried out other methods, and then she decided to try hypnotherapy with me. And the situation with Paul was that they had trouble communicating. Kalina goes into her inner world. What happens is that she meets her guide. And this guide, his name is Joshua. He will come in whenever she goes, she's in a meditative mode. Then he appears. And this is when all the communication takes place.
Now, would Joshua be her guide through all her lifetimes? Is this her?
Definitely this lifetime. He's the one who's taking care of her in this lifetime. For sure. I mean, he's like the first one to approach, something like a supervisor. And he's the one who helps her to access all the past lives, if you look at it. And what was happening with Paul was a situation that was not resolved from a life that she had as the African Oro, where they had they were relatives, but because of the way she treated him in that past life, and all of this was to do with...
So she as a man...
She was a man.
She was a man. Was she Oro?
She was Oro.
She was Oro. And what was her relationship to?
A nephew. So she had a nephew, and they were living in a village. It was a tribal village, and it was being attacked by some people from the West who were trying to come and pick up slaves. The essential part of the story is that Kalina, part of her life lesson in this life was to learn about how to communicate and how to appreciate another person's action. So that was the most important point that she picked up from that story. With regards to Anna from Bavaria.
Wait, I just want to ask though, so why was Paul so bossy? What was her problem with Paul that got resolved when she found out about her lifetime and she was this Oro?
Oh, this is to do with the power dynamics in the tribe.
So he was repeating the power dynamic that they had in their tribe?
Yes.
And he was very bossy in that tribe.
In this, yeah.
And so he came back and so once she went through that regression therapy and all, did her situation with her son Paul improve?
It changed. So it went from harsh to mellow.
Interesting.
So these things are common when you do regression therapy and you work on that past life. You can see the impact of it in the current life. It can help to release tension, build up, imprints, can be released. Just like with me, in terms of courage, I got it back. When I put my head back, I got the courage back, right? I got my voice back because I was decapitated.
Sure.
The courage
of the voice. So, so through this past life therapy, she's able to heal her troubling relationship with her son.
With the son, right. Yeah.
And now we have another story where she's Anna of Bavaria, and that was a turning point in her healing journey, just like you had a turning point in yours. So tell us about that.
This was to do with self-worth, because as much as a story is colorful and filled with details, a regression therapist's job is to go after the root cause. And the root cause are oftentimes connected with a particular emotion that needs to be worked out or played out. So in Anna's story, it's about self-worth. This was the root cause to all of Kalina's dilemma, how she felt about herself. So Anna's story was about a 7-year-old girl who was living with her mom. And one day she is out picking herbs and flowers in the forest, and she's attacked and raped and brutally killed.
Oh, my.
Yes.
How many, do you know what century this is or how?
We would say Middle Ages. Definitely not modern times, because they lived near a forest and they picked herbs and flowers. This is one of the indicators. And also you sometimes pick up the energy. As I'm sitting next to her, I know that I'm going into a space that time, it's not modern. Yeah, it's going further and further into, early days. But in that story, it's very important. One is Anna had to face the perpetrator, the man who killed her, the one who murdered her. That's one point. But the most important point was actually the reaction of the mother when she found Anna's body. Because when the mother eventually found her body, she turned away. And Anna's soul was watching this. And when she watched the mom turn away, that was when the imprint of shame was left on her. It was not even the fact that she was brutally killed, because she would eventually have a kind of a showdown with the perpetrator in the spirit realm, and they will
come about that too. But
they will come to a conclusion. It's in the book, but like I said, more important was, what does your family member do or react when you are at the deepest level of despair? So when the mom turned away because she was absolutely troubled by what she saw. So that was a natural reaction. But for Anna's soul that was watching her, she thought the mom was turning away because that was the most shameful thing to see, to see her daughter in a state of having been shamed, right, to the deepest level. So how do you turn this around? Because we are looking at a scene, we are looking at a story that is really, really heart-wrenching. My job then is not to get emotionally involved, but to figure out a way to help Kalina.
You're helping her process the experience so that she can heal, and so it doesn't affect her anymore in her current life.
And so Anna goes through that story. When I'm talking to Kalina, but I'm also talking to Anna. And Anna's request was that the mom come and kind of offer a ceremony for her. She's dead, but there's still ways, there's still time to give them the respect and dignity that they deserve. And that was one of the takeaway points for both Kalina and me, that when a person dies, we should not rush through, those moments after someone dies. We should give them time. The living should give the one who is passing or transitioning the time, the care, and the attention, and not just pack them away like.
Right. And just so now, this is such a fascinating story. So what ritual did she use or visualize to heal her mother? How did that, to change that message that she had taken? It was a mistaken message, I think, that she had taken from that lifetime.
Yes. That survived God knows how many years, and it was still living in her, causing her a lot of distress. Anna, on her part, wanted her mom to kind of clean her up, rearrange the clothing, and do what came naturally. And that was to pick whatever flowers was around her, place it on her, and put a symbolic cross sign on her body. And that was enough for Anna, because I know Kalina, as an adult, is watching this. She could have come up with a million other things that Kalina might have wanted. But no, Anna only wanted her mom to pay attention to her and to do whatever was available in that moment in time, right? And that would have been things organically coming from the space around her. And that's what she used.
Did her mother come to her in that moment? How did that take place to help her to heal?
So she called on the mother.
So
she
the
called on the
mother's
soul of the mother.
the soul
Yeah.
of the mother, who
Yeah.
may have been reincarnated somewhere else, but the soul
Yes,
is a
the
master
soul,
soul, and it's still aware of everything.
Exactly. It's just like that space that I went into, this sphere. They are there all the time.
Right, all the
Only
time.
a portion of your energy is in the human body.
Right.
And when you call on another soul, it's really up to them whether to turn up or not. They have the right. And in Anna's case, the mom appeared.
She appeared. So what did she do? So she recreated the scene?
Yeah, so Anna recreated the scene.
I'm asking you because I want everyone to read the book, but they don't, they're curious now. What happened?
So in the first scene, she died, right? And the mom came and turned away. But in the reframed scene, the mom came and performed a beautiful ceremony for Anna. So that pleased the soul. It was organic. It was so beautiful, so touching. It's not like Anna wanted to be taken back to the village, or she wanted her mom to go look for the man. Nothing of that sort. She only wanted time with the mother paying her attention.
And she got that. And then you also talk about in the book that various types of angels helped Kalina to identify her life purpose. Tell us about that.
After doing regression
people
therapy,
don't even know that angels exist like that to help us.
Yeah, I think, I didn't believe in it too. I mean, coming from that legal field, right? I mean, there's like it's like woo-woo at that point in time. I have, through my own personal experiences, or rather a really big nudge, experienced the presence of angels. In Kalina's case, as she got better and better, and it was a natural progression from looking into past lives for clues and solution. Because she was becoming more and more courageous, it was opening up her spiritual world. And the next natural thing to do is figure out who else is in there. Instead of focusing on your database of past lives, you now are shifting and you're wondering, okay, what more can I connect with? Who else can I communicate with or meet and have that interaction? It's just like you and me, right? Yes. I didn't know you before.
Right.
But here we are sharing. So the next logical level for Kalina in her soul development from my side was to get her in touch with her own wisdom, with her own spiritual wisdom. And to do this would be to call in the presence of her guides as high as you can go. So at that point in time, I was learning about spiritual regression, but I got the chance to do my own experiment with her. And we had this session about wanting to find out what is a life purpose.
That's so cool.
Yes. So as usual, Joshua came in first. Joshua is a personal guide. And I can tell by then, when Joshua comes, there's a wave of energy and it has got a particular quality. But in this particular session, when we called, Joshua came, and I could feel that there was more waves coming, more waves of energy, but I didn't know who they were. And eventually what happens is Kalina is slowly taken to that space. And there is a big discussion with the guides, like how they want to do it. I am only a facilitator, right? I can bring Kalina to a platform, let's say. But what happens on that platform is totally up to Kalina and totally up to her guides.
And so fascinating for you as you're facilitating this, and
yes,
it's coming out next. Wow.
Yes. And I can tell you this: you cannot plan. You cannot plan ahead. You can wish for the best. Be very clear with your intentions. So when I am there, I'm like a mirror. I'm a blank space. I'm not Sheela, but I'm just there to make sure things are moving.
Your bridge.
Yes. And eventually Kalina will tell you that for her, it felt like she was on a talk show and Joshua was sitting in the audience and she's there on stage with her high level guides, and they are explaining to her about her life purpose and how she came to pick this life.
Can you give us a little tidbit about that?
Okay.
And they can read more of it in the book, but just to give us a little tidbit.
The biggest tip that Kalina got was that she is here to learn about love and communication.
Wow.
Which was covered in the past life. So they're telling her this is why you are here. And then they go on to explain how she came to Earth, how she came to be in this life. And one of the things that they share is that Kalina had picked the lessons herself to learn. It was not arranged for her, but it was something that she co-created with her guides to come and learn through the current life body.
So
and
this lifetime was meant to be a healing for her.
Yes. And even that they mention. So how she will come to meet me and go through this process. It, for me, as a therapist, it was interesting how the energy shifted as the session progressed. Even her voice was shifting. So, of course, everything is documented in the book, but the book is based.
When she became Oro, did her voice get deeper like a man?
Oh, yeah. Her voice would change. Even when she was Anna, she was speaking like a child.
Oh, it's so interesting.
Yeah. But you see, Irene, I was blessed with the presence of Kalina somehow, because she is one of the most expressive, very clear, and articulate with her description of what was happening in the session. So I just happened to get the best kind of client possible. And that boosted my confidence.
I don't think that was an accident.
Exactly.
She was meant to come to you, and that was meant to happen because this was the next part of your path.
Yes, exactly. Because since her, I have had many clients and they are all different. One of the clients was a journalist, and logically I thought, wow, this person is going to give me the story in the best form. And guess what happened? I had to pull every single word out of her. Yeah. So it doesn't mean that if you are super articulate in the human body that you're going to be so when you are in the soul form, because it could be that it takes you a long time to find a word or to describe stuff. So
and you're also coming from another lifetime. And maybe those words that are accessible here were not as accessible in that way.
Yeah. The other thing about Kalina was this: she was open. She was ready. She was fed up with all the other techniques, and she was ready to put herself out there. She was ready to experiment. She was open-minded. Because of love and compassion, which was her life purpose, I think she was also trying to find the right kind of tool to tell her story, because these are stories coming from your heart. You need somebody to listen to it, and not just listen, but also to help you figure out ways. And
Absolutely.
this is exactly where regression therapy is different from just past life regression. Past life regression can be somebody who takes you to look at a past life, or maybe they feel it and they tell it to you. Yeah. So you get the information either from yourself or somebody is telling you through other techniques. Regression therapy is about you looking at your own stories. Doesn't matter whether it comes from this life or other lives, but going beyond, looking at the situation and figuring out a way to resolve it so that you no longer have to suffer. You no longer have to carry any heaviness. That is the difference, because it offers you what we call the transformation phase. The story plus you going in to do your work.
Right. I think that's fabulous. So I think it's like a little bit of a difference of if you're just discovering your past lives, you're more like an observer to what happened to you, as opposed to past life regression therapy. You not only observe it, but you feel it and you process it to see how it's affecting your current life, and you help to heal it, which is wonderful.
Exactly.
That brings me right to what you do, because I know you have private sessions. You have personal holistic coaching. You have customized workshops. So tell us about those and anything else you'd like to share with our Grief and Rebirth podcast audience.
Okay, so I do a variety of coaching because there's a variety of people that need to be coached. And some people prefer to have it in a group setting because maybe that's more comfortable for them. But what I enjoy are the one-to-one sessions, because then you just zoom in on that particular person and you work on their issues. So that is what is most sacred and fascinating for me.
Do you do these things by Zoom also, Sheela? Or
yes, all the time. Yes,
all the time.
Well, I can only be in one place at one time. So Zoom was the natural solution because I have clients from all over the place. Having said that, there is no difference between
so you
doing
can
it on
hypnotize
Zoom.
a person even though they're on Zoom with you?
Yes.
Oh, that's so interesting.
So, there's another thing about hypnosis. There's a lot of misconception about hypnosis or hypnotherapy. It's not like, David Copperfield kind of hypnosis. Mm-hmm. It's not entertainment hypnosis. Actually, hypnotherapy is just a method to get a person to a comfortable, relaxed state of mind where they are processing the information through the subconscious mind. Not the logical mind. So it's about getting people to go to a relaxed state, just like in meditation, but getting them to utilize their imaginative and creative powers, which is coming from the right side of the brain, according to science.
And that takes a certain kind of technique that you've had to train for, I'm sure, to be able to do that with people.
Yes, there are various kinds of techniques to help people to relax. But regression therapy, it's about taking the story that they are going to share with you and then figuring out what is it that they want to be in the future and making sure that the challenging stuff is resolved or minimized so that the person can take most of their energy and apply it and be in a brighter space, to be in a more creative space. Because as a soul, this is what I've noticed. It doesn't matter who I have worked with. And I have worked with people from all walks in life, all ages, all religion. A soul always wants to evolve. It wants to progress. I have never, ever met or spoken to a soul that wants to go backwards.
Which is why the souls that are listening to this podcast are obviously people who their souls want them to progress. Their souls want them to evolve. And that's probably why they're attracted to learn from these interviews, because we're bringing out this information that's not so present in their current lifetimes. And so now they're learning about this.
Yes.
Right.
And exactly. And what holds people back is often an emotion. And a lot of the times when people are coming for sessions and you can figure out where the problem starts, because after a while, when you talk to them, you can figure out where it is located. And I can tell you 70 to 80% starts from the childhood, because
childhood in a past life or childhood in.
So for a regression therapist, it doesn't matter in which time period it started, in which life. The most important is to go back to the root cause. So when you work with the client, sometimes it happens that they won't go into the past life immediately because they have enough stuff to work on in this life. And most of it will be in childhood.
So it's kind of a combination of regular therapy, but also like you're not only healing the pain from your childhood and from the current things, but also from the past lives, the issues from the past lives too. So it's more of a complete, it's not a piecemeal approach. It's more of a complete approach.
Well, a lot of souls, they have had multiple lives, right? So if you look at it from a linear point of time, there is a past life. But you and me, we know that there's only one time, right? All contained in that space. It's just that we happen to be on Earth, and on Earth you have linear time. And therefore, we call it the past life. Right. But when you are meditating, you go to that space, and in that space, time doesn't exist. If you want, you can access any part of you that has been held back, communicate with it, And of course, in the human form, you would need to be able to process that information so it will come out as a story, right? Because humans and storytelling.
It's how we learn. We go together. So it's so fascinating. So is there anything else you want to tell us about your private sessions? We're going to be posting all of your information with this interview. So if someone wants to contact you, they'll be able to do that with the information. And your private sessions are with past life regression therapy and your holistic coaching. What exactly?
Well, it is holistic. Actually, it is holistic coaching.
Package.
It's let me put it this way. There's no one way to heal a person. I've never ever come across where a person has been healed only by one thing. So when I call it holistic coaching, because it could be that I only need to do brain-based coaching, or if there's more to that person that needs to be resolved, then I just combine it. So it's kind of a hybrid.
Okay. And tell me about your workshops. You have customized workshops also?
That depends on who wants it. So what I do sometimes is I offer well-being circles here in Munich in person, or I do online group coaching. So I might pick a topic and then I offer it out to people. So
they can find out about that on your website and all of that kind of thing.
And more so,
Go ahead.
I just wanted to share that I also do retreats. So I organize retreats focused on inner well-being using regression techniques. But these are all bespoke, customized. So I do it for a group of people because working with groups and groups that gel, it can be so powerful.
I would imagine that would be an incredible experience for someone.
Yes. So I try to make it fun. We combine it with something physical like yoga, or we do a portion of brain-based coaching because your conscious mind needs to be empowered too. So it's not all about the subconscious mind and past lives, but it's also about your current cognitive abilities and how you want to expand it.
How large are these groups, Sheela?
You mean the retreats or the
retreats?
Ideally for retreats is about 10 to 12 people.
Oh, that's nice. So it's a small.
Yeah, intimate. It needs to be intimate. I don't believe in doing like 20, 30 because then it just dilutes the energy.
Yeah. And do you have a special offer for our Grief and Rebirth audience today?
For one-to-one, I do have an offer. So for anybody who listens to your podcast, they can just mention Irene and then I'll give 50% off.
And it's worth it, everybody. You have to check it out. And what is Sheela's important tip for finding joy in life from the life of Sheela?
I would say do anything and everything that opens up your mind. And not just the logical mind, but also your heart mind.
So by listening to us, they're doing some of that, aren't they?
Yes, anything. I mean, if people feel nudged, or they feel encouraged to explore their inner world, I'm all for that.
That's wonderful. Sheela, I love this really meaningful quote from Hello Me, Self-Empowerment and Healing Through Past Life Regression Therapy, that resonates so beautifully with the healing mission of Grief and Rebirth podcast. And that quote is, unearth your stories, unravel the knots, retain the good stuff, make peace with the bad, let go of the clutter, find your spot in the universe, heal, love, and cherish yourself and others a little bit more. That's so beautiful. That's so wonderful and so true. And I want to thank you from my heart for this truly fascinating, wonderful, enlightening interview that I'm sure has opened many minds and hearts today. And here's a loving reminder, everyone, that you can see the show notes and all Grief and Rebirth podcast episodes on ireneweinberg.com. And make sure to follow us and like us on social at Irene S. Weinberg on Instagram, Facebook, and wherever you get your podcasts. I want to thank you again, Sheela. And as I like to say, to be continued. Many blessings. And bye for now.
Thank you so much.
So much my pleasure. It's just been wonderful to share you with everyone today. Thank you so much. Oh my God. All right. To be continued. Bye for now. Bye, everyone. Bye for now.